stop. Sherry.
Peaceful weekend, a restful weekend. I'm your host here, Anita Blanton, and I'll be with you through 4 p.m. So let's talk about how this first hour is shaping up as we begin a new week. We anticipate having Congressman Casten with us. He says he will not be attending tomorrow's State of the Union address in person. He's one of several Democrats that we have heard from today. I mean, we've really gotten a slew of emails coming through from Illinois lawmakers, at least, who've made this same call or similar calls. And he's going to be joining me here to talk about his claim. These are his words. He says he's not interested in being used as a prop for Donald Trump's theatrics. So we'll talk more about that. Also, we may be able to ask him about even our next segment. We're expecting another vote on Indiana's Senate Bill 27 today. That's paving the way, of course, for the Northwest Indiana Stadium Authority. This is the bigger conversation about where the Bears will be in the years to come, because it's looking quite likely that they won't be at Soldier Field at the very least. But where they go from here, will it be Arlington Heights? Will it be Hammond, Indiana? We shall see. But this week especially is looking like crunch time for something to get done. And so we were watching earlier today the House committee and now the full House there in Indiana kind of going over their bills, waiting for this one to come up to see what the vote would be. They took a recess until 1:30. So we know that they'll be picking back up the discussions at 1:30. We think that it might be the second thing that's slated for that next session time that they are together. So we'll be monitoring that as soon as they begin that discussion. We're going to take that live. But of course, the House and Ways Committee unanimously gave this bill the go-ahead. It's Senate Bill 27. So now it goes to the full House for a vote, and we'll see what happens with that. Also, we're anticipating one of TMZ's producers to talk with me about the hearing today for Hollywood filmmaker and actor Rob Reiner's son, Nick. Horrible situation that happened in their family home, and he was arraigned today on 2 counts of first-degree murder and killing his parents. The court date had already been delayed twice, and most recently, Nick's private attorney withdrew from the case, so now he has a public defender. There's a lot going on there. We'll talk with TMZ about that. Now, we're monitoring a few other things here. Let me take you through a few live pictures. We have Chopper that is up right now, and just moments ago, I think it's kind of moving around now, so you'll see it gliding over the city. But just moments ago, it was getting some video over Corliss High School. There was a very large fight there with a heavy police presence, and so we don't know if there were any serious injuries, but moments before we came on the air, we could see an ambulance that was there at the high school. Again, we know that there was a very large fight. As we get more information about what took place there again at Corliss High School, we'll be passing that along to you as soon as I get another email about that situation there. But again, Chopper is moving on. We're also monitoring what's going on the East Coast. Let's start with Philly. Look at this. I meant the kids are enjoying it. The parents, maybe not so much, but maybe giving you a smile for the kids' sake. They have a cyclone blizzard in that area, a high impact blizzard at that, a bomb cyclone. We don't hear that too often, but it is slamming the Northeast with near hurricane force winds, extreme snowfall rates. I've been watching this the last maybe 24 hours and seeing the reporters that were out when the snow first started to fall versus when they came back out and it was 2 feet of snow in some places. You think, goodness grief, and they're going to go further from there. So over 40 million people are under blizzard warnings because of that. They've had over 30 inches of snow that's fallen so far. Just treacherous conditions for so many people. But again, at least in this picture, the kids look like they are having a good time. More than 10,000 flights have been canceled as a result of what's going on there with, again, this bomb cyclone, the whiteout conditions from that system that's there in the Northeast. Let's take you down to Florida, too. We see, look at that, right on time. The U.S. hockey team is arriving there in Florida. This should be a very warm welcome. for multiple reasons. It's Florida, but it should be a warm welcome for the team because they are champions. I mean, so good to see. We know now that obviously the Winter Games have come to a close, but what a way to end the Winter Games that, after about 40 years or so, I think it's 30 or 40 years since the Miracle on Ice. Yeah. That now our team has another gold. I mean, U.S. men's hockey team coming off of this win. Just such beautiful moments. I watched the very end of their celebrations there, and a few of them were missing teeth, but but it was really beautiful to see the celebration. I mean, them hopping over the rails to get out to the middle of the rink and just embrace each other. So shocked by what they were able to pull off. I mean, obviously you plan for this, you prepare for this moment, you work hard for this moment, but it's been out of the grasp of so many before them. But the first U.S. team since 1980 that has been able to come back with that win, that gold from the U.S. Winter Games. So we're so proud of them as they come back here now. Their plane just landing in Florida for the warm welcome in many ways that they will receive coming back home as champions. Another beautiful moment. This team was supposed to have a young man on the team. Goudreau was his last name. He and his brother were recently killed by a drunk driver. And this team, in the midst of their beautiful celebration, they paid for the Goudreau family, the children, and the extended family of those brothers. They paid for them to fly out to Milan to be there. And you just think that maybe this is like a whole movie in the making, but they paid for the family to be there for their match. They end up winning the gold of all things in front of the Goudreau family. And then in the midst of their celebration, they went back into the stands and got the children, the Goudreau children, and brought them out there to be a part of their championship picture. So a really precious moment as these children have lost their father recently, but their father, these players know, would have been with them if it had not been for that very tragic accident that took place. But in their moment of triumph, they did not forget about the Goudreau family and brought those children out there to take a picture with them. So we are so proud of them for many reasons today, and happy to see them coming back to home soil as champions. You can see that there are some media teams there, and obviously the security already waiting for them as they are soon to get off of the plane and come through those doors, starting to just get ready for their arrival into the airport, and to be able to celebrate them in full. And I'm sure there will be many more celebrations to come now that they are back here in the U.S., but really happy for them. Again, I think it's going to be a movie about what has taken place over the last year or so here, that the tragedy to full triumph, losing someone who was so talented that would have been right there with them, to go on to the games with that person on your mind, thinking that one of their teammates was not with them, to play in that person's honor, to ultimately win the gold, and to have that person's family there in the stands and include them in their celebration. It is just a wonderful story from tragedy to triumph, and we're so happy again for them. So they will have their moment with all of the cameras flashing, another moment, I should say, of all of the cameras flashing just as soon as they get off of the plane there. Again, that is Florida. where their plane has just landed. So we'll give them a few moments, and as soon as they're maybe inside and getting another celebration of one of what I'm sure will be many, we'll try to go back there live for just a wonderful moment for this great team that will now go down in history. This U.S. men's hockey team that engineered an epic. In fact, they went into three overtimes for this win. So you just think of the exhaustion from all of that and the emotion from all of that, but they went on to win gold here. So we're just so proud of them for all that they have been through, and we will continue to celebrate them as they are now back here in the U.S. So those are a few things that we are monitoring right now. I told you about some of the things that we are anticipating coming up throughout this hour. A couple of other things. We do anticipate that we'll have our own political reporter, Paris Schutz, coming up here. Paris had some exclusive reporting from over the weekend. He found out some information about Parks and Rec here in the city of Chicago already allegedly planning for what to do next for Soldier Field. Yes, we're waiting on this vote down in Indiana about whether the team will end up going to Indiana, or, Arlington Heights is still fighting for their place for it to stay in Illinois and telling everyone, hey, coalesce around us. Let's form this regional body to say, just stay in Illinois. We've got you. But what happens to Soldier Field? If it's looking more and more like either way, Soldier Field will not be home to the Bears in the future, what happens next for Soldier Field? Well, they've already kind of, according to his reporting, started planning for a Bears-less Soldier Field. And so we'll get him up here in just a few minutes here to talk me through what he is finding out from his sources about that. Plus, he's going to start back up his debates for the week. Last week, they got pretty spicy. He had the Senate candidates for Dick Durbin's seat. Of course, they have a primary coming up in March for those candidates. He had the county assessor position. So he had the incumbent and also the person who was challenging him. That was a very interesting debate, as well as the Cook County Board President debate. So those were the three from last week. We'll talk with him more about where he's going this week. I think they start back up tomorrow. So a few things that we'll be talking with Paris about shortly. And we also have from our own sports team, Tina Nguyen. Now, of course, Tina is coming back to Chicago in this cold weather. We're back to winter here in Chicago. We had that brief reprieve where it felt like spring for a few days. It was like faux spring, and winter is reminding us now this week that no, I'm still here. It's still my time. I am still the front runner here for a while. So it's very cold, but she's coming back off of her trip to Arizona. She was out in Arizona with our baseball teams. Yes, both the Cubs and the Sox were out there doing a little spring training, and so we'll be able to kind of recap things with her about her trip out to Arizona, but then also get an update from her about what she's hearing from the sports side of things when it comes to this, tug of war for the Bears. They're the hot team. Everybody wants them. So where will they be come the next few years? We shall see. But give us 2 minutes. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll bring back in either Tina or Paris, whoever gets up here to Studio 32 first. We'll start that conversation, and then we'll kind of move to the other one. So they're both anticipated up here within the next couple of minutes, and whoever gets up here first, we'll start that conversation. I told you about a few other things that we're monitoring. So again, we're still looking to see those toothless smiles from our U.S. hockey team, and just as soon as they get off of the plane and they have some special moments there with the photographers, we'll also try to get to that. So plenty ahead here on Chicago Live. Stick with us, give us 2 minutes, and we'll be right back. right, 116, everyone. I did promise you one of our reporters coming up here. They still haven't made it up here. So let's go back out to Philly and talk a little bit more about this. Now, we know that our team, our Fox Weather team, is going to join us around 3:45 and give us an update. This is New York, where we're looking right now, and you can... Okay, yeah, this is New York where we're looking, and you can see here the snow. Yeah, obviously, for many of us that live in areas where you get snow frequently, yes, you're able to kind of move about even when the weather gets bad out there. But this was a historic system that has plagued the East Coast here for the last 24 hours, and still many impacts, even as of right now. The New York City official reporting station in Central Park has picked up 19.7 inches of snow thus far. So it is a historic nor'easter that has dropped in some places feet of snow. Just kind of going over some of the other areas that we know of thus far. Rhode Island, 32.8 inches in Providence. In Babylon in New York, they have 29.5 inches. New Jersey is looking at 27.9 inches so far. Connecticut, 26.5 inches. I mean, this is significant for so many. Even down to Virginia, they have 15 inches in Wintergreen. Wintergreen is an area where they typically have a lot of skiing going on, so that might be quite nice for them. Other parts of Virginia don't really know what to do with that at all. Even parts of Maine, have seen at least a few inches of snow. So yes, you can see here, like in the heart of the city, in the heart of Manhattan, yes, there is still some activity moving around, but this has really stalled a lot of other people. And there's a travel ban in New York City, and it's now been lifted, but Mayor Zoran Mamdani is still asking people to stay off the roads as snow is forecast to continue into the afternoon for many people there. So they have a hazardous travel advisory that's in place for the city through midnight. And they do anticipate having a briefing. We hope to be able to take that whenever they have that so that we can get some more information as to, again, maybe not the city. In the city, you'll get those, the vehicles that go through and clear out that snow. And you can see even on the sidewalks there, some of the workers out there making sure that in the city you can still get around. But for other areas, not so much of a good situation. There have been so many flights that have been canceled. Just, if you have a flight in the next couple of days, because you think about there's the impact, the initial impact, and then there's the ripple effect. So in the next couple of days, there could be an issue. You definitely want to pay attention to that. I was just speaking with the Points guy, a representative from the Points guy, who was saying, listen, it's probably going to be the full week that these airlines are trying to get back on track after what's happened just in the last 24 hours here, and continues to stall a lot of travel there on the East Coast here. So FlightAware is your friend. Call before you go to the airport. Just make sure, even if you have a flight that's coming from somewhere else, the issue could be there, not necessarily here. That the sun is shining for us right now here in our area. Yes, it's been cold. Yes, we've had some flurries here in our area, but the sun is shining. Look at, just out at Lake Michigan there. This is from our chopper as it's moving over the city. So it's choppy water, cold water, but just a marked difference from what we've seen in other areas. You can see the ground. Yes, there's a little snowfall here and there, but primarily, we are dealing with okay conditions. Yes, it's cold. It's still winter. It's 26 degrees right now. Feels like 8 degrees out there for many of us, especially those of us that are a little closer into the water. But we're looking at 20s and 30s for most of the week, and even the possibility of making it into the 50s by Friday. So not a bad situation for us at all. Yes, it's winter as we kind of close out February and get ready for March. We'll see whether it comes in like a lamb or a lion, but it seems like, at least for the week, at least through Saturday, that we should be okay. Cold, but okay. Had to pull back out the bubble coat today, but at least we're not seeing the cyclone, the bomb cyclone, the whiteout conditions that they are seeing on the East Coast. Give us another 2 minutes. Our political reporter, Paris Schutz, just walked in. We'll set up for him, and then we'll get going with that conversation. Hey, welcome back, everyone. 124. Paris Schutz is here. Paris, you've been busy. I saw you yesterday in the evening news, and I'm not sure if you were scheduled to work on Sunday before, but I know you had some exclusive reporting.
Yeah, we had some exclusive reporting. We wanted to get out there about what the Park District and the Governor's Office and lawmakers are talking about with respect to the future of Soldier Field, because that's the other aspect of this. Wherever the Bears go, it is very likely that Soldier Field is not going to be in the long-term picture.
Yeah.
And so they have to figure out what to do with that stadium. And there are plans right now that the Park District, that we've learned, has briefed the governor's office and lawmakers on to retrofit it to make it primarily a concert and event destination. It already hosts 8 to 10 concerts a year, but they want to host more. And so they want to make some upgrades to it to make it a great concert space. And it's going to cost $630 million is the price tag they're putting on it.
Wow, but the Bears would be responsible for a part of that.
Well, the Bears have a penalty if they break their lease early with the stadium. So that's about $90 million. The Park District is estimating about $150 million for inside stadium renovations and stuff. So they'd have to get $60 million somewhere else. But they're trying to put together a package that would include no new borrowing. They're also, looking at about $500 million in infrastructure improvements, and they're looking at the state to fund that stuff.
And infrastructure improvements, would that include having some type of enclosure? No.
No, at this point, no. It would just include parking improvements, roadway improvements, traffic flow, the flow of people getting out and getting through the museum campus. So they did a study, and they came up with those are sort of the needs that they have identified to really, kind of get that stadium up to gear in terms of how to get people in and out of there.
I'm just thinking about, I was on night 2 for the Beyonce concerts.
Right. And
obviously they made a ton of money in the city on Beyonce coming here as usual. But night 1, they had that horrible storm.
Right.
And, that's one of the things that has plagued the Bears when they're there.
Yeah, the weather. The elements, the unknown.
It is, and especially in a city like Chicago, where there's just a lot of unknown.
And I talked to some sources that are looking into this. No one wanted to go on the record. And they felt that they would have, because don't forget, they'd have to compete against a new Dome Stadium for Beyonce or Taylor Swift. But they felt that these big national tours would rather be in an open-air stadium downtown, near the hotels, near the lakefront, near all the nightlife, as opposed to booking way out in Arlington Heights. I don't know. I mean, if the Bears do build a big entertainment district around there, it might be negligible. But they seem to think that they can attract a lot more acts. And I was surprised to learn that their internal numbers show that they only make $7 million a year from the Bears out of $50 million a year in revenue they get out of Soldier Field from other events. So it's actually a small chunk of what they make off of Soldier Field, and they could make that back pretty easily.
And so they've also had some limitations because of the Bears playing there.
Yeah, so the rule is that you can't book another event there within 5 days of a home game. So what they're thinking is, if the Bears aren't there, it opens up all of August and September, because they have preseason games in August. So dates that perhaps were closed off in August and September to bring more festivals or concerts there. And like we said, it's only $7 million they would have to make up from the Bears' loss, and maybe about $2 to $3 million from the Chicago Fire leaving there, because the Chicago Fire are going to build their own stadium. So it's not a huge chunk of money we're talking about here. And I was actually surprised to learn that the Bears, it's almost kind of like a giveaway. They don't actually make a whole lot of money off the Bears. They don't make money off the parking revenue or anything like that. That all goes to the Bears. So there's a scenario where if they play their cards right, they can come out ahead. And that's why they've kind of tried to get ahead of the game here and start the process of retrofitting Soldier Field and getting that ready for the time when the Bears aren't going to be there.
Okay, all right. So, of course, we're waiting at any point today for the full House in Indiana to take up this vote on it. Are you hearing anything behind the scenes?
Well, they had a hearing this morning, and they're supposed to have there's supposed to be 2 hearings, their rules are, before they can vote in the House. On this bill. There's some new reporting this weekend that came out about the taxes that will have to be raised to fund this. I mean, there's no free lunch, folks. Like, this is $1 billion, I think, that they're talking about in public monies.
They're like, don't get so excited. Look at this first. Look at the numbers.
Raising liquor taxes in Lake County, Indiana, raising hotel taxes, tollway fees. I mean, this is nickel and dime stuff that hits working class folks. Is this going to continue to be as popular as it has been in Indiana? Or will that stall a vote this week? I've been told in Illinois, don't expect the bill in Illinois to get voted on this week or to move that. They're still working on negotiating that.
And it's initially what the Bears wanted, is that there was some certainty by the end of February.
Yeah, they did. They wanted everything to be on Indiana's time frame, but I have to say what happened on Thursday, where the Bears put out that statement and the governor says he was blindsided, and Illinois people were like, You basically made it seem like it's a done deal for him, and you said nothing about Illinois. Then this weekend in Crane Chicago Business, the Bears CEO Kevin Warren gives them a statement saying, we're making progress in Illinois too. I mean, it sounded like that was a little bit of cleanup, and that they didn't like, I mean, they might have gone a little over their skis on Thursday. So now what? I mean, so do they really want to go to Hammond? Is it just a leverage play? I think only George McCaskey and Kevin Warren know the answer to that. Let's assume that this is neck and neck, and they're equally considering both. It would seem like Hammond has a front-runner status because their bill is about to pass, unless that gets held up. So will the Bears see that and say, you know what, we're going to Hammond? Or will Illinois call their bluff and say, you were just doing this for leverage the whole time, weren't you?
There's so much there.
A lot of drama.
Again, we pulled up that slate there. They've been on a brief hiatus from chambers here, but we do anticipate that they will be back in the chambers momentarily.
So and maybe I was the last I was told they would vote tomorrow. Likely, they do a hearing today and then they vote tomorrow, unless they speed that up. I don't know, but we'll have to see. Does Indiana get cold feet? When they look at the taxes and they look at the fact that the Bears clearly are not 100%. And then it's like this bill passes, but the Bears are still doing their site survey and the quote unquote due diligence. Like, there's a long way to go here, and this bears notion of a deadline might be like that red line that now they got to move again.
Yeah. Moving the chains.
Moving the chains.
Moving the
there
chains.
You go.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Exactly right.
Let's talk about your week.
Moving the goalposts.
Yeah, that too. Let's talk about your week. I know you're going to pick back up with your debates tomorrow. Who do you have for debates this week?
Well, we're looking forward to it. We've got the GOP gubernatorial primary card, so for the right to take on Governor Pritzker and his tens of millions of dollars, and this is going to be a tough battle. So we've got a primary field. 3 of the top 4 candidates are coming. Darren Bailey has not agreed to appear, but we will have Ted Dabrowski, James Mendrick, and Rick Heidner.
Okay.
And we're preparing for that, and we've gotten tons of viewer-submitted questions for that. We've got to start going through that and see which makes the cut here.
I like viewer-submitted questions.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
Okay, and then on Wednesday.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Wednesday, we've got another. I can't keep track. We've got the 9th congressional district race. So the primary there, we're going to have the top 6 candidates of about 100. So that's Daniel Biss and Kataba Ghazala and Laura Fine are the top 3 kind of polling. And then you got Mike Simmons, Phil Andrew, and Amira Bushwala. Those are the 6 that will come. There's going to be 2 separate. We'll have the A panel and the B panel here. And there's a lot of accusations in that race about where the money's coming from, and AIPAC now, which is all of a sudden toxic in the Democratic circles, the Israeli lobby, you know. So there will be some fireworks, I anticipate.
I would totally anticipate these. The ads over the last week have really gone to a new level.
And I think for the folks that live in like Rogers Park or Andersonville or Evanston, you know, the areas of this district, they have been inundated with mail and text messages and ads, and I'm sure they're just ready for it to be over with. So we're going to just see them face to face.
Okay, so that's things you're ready for things to be over with, but let's talk about something that's getting ready to get started up. I hear you are doing Dancing with the Stars Chicago.
Oh my God, I didn't know you were going to bring that up. Yeah.
Breaking news.
Dancing with the Chicago Celebrities. March 13th, get your tickets. It's Arthur Murray Dance Company. Dancing with the Chicago Celebrities. Google that, or maybe we can...
what kind of dance are you working on,
Well, that's
Harris?
a secret, Anita. You're going to have to buy tickets, buy a table, buy a plate, or just donate. And you're going to come see what dance we're working on, but we're working hard.
Oh, I cannot wait to see this, along with the outfit.
Again, you're just going to have to come see that. Okay. My dance instructor is Sophie, and she is incredibly patient and very professional, and she is turning me, someone who has never really danced in his life, into something resembling a dancer for my 2.5-minute bit that I got to do. So
I am psyched.
We're working hard on that one.
You know, our station has a bit of a legacy.
I got to defend a crown here, Terrence.
You do.
Terrence Lee.
2-time crown.
Toes Terrence won last year, and then
Casey the year before.
Casey Cronus. 2
we got some
very
dance
talented
champs around here.
People. I've got a lot to live up to.
Yeah.
And that's why I've taken this serious.
You can do it.
That's why I said, I went in there to the teacher and I said, we just need to win. I don't care what you do to me. And she's like, I'm putting you through hell. And I'm like, but we need to win. So it's worth it.
We need to win. There you go.
Yeah.
That is the mind of a champion.
We need to raise some good money for breast cancer.
Yeah, that's the most important thing.
Yeah, it's
about
Arthur
it
Murray.
all.
They've been doing this for 20 years. They raise about $400,000. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful organization. Arthur Murray is going over there, taking lessons and seeing all the the happy people, the wives and the husbands, and the people getting ready to get married. Taking their dance lessons. They have so much fun there, and I've really grown to love that organization. So.
All right. Well, you've got a few weeks to
Cha-cha-cha.
Get.
That's not the cha-cha.
Oh,
it's
okay.
not the cha-cha.
I was like, wait a minute, are you giving it away? You're
Not the
giving us a
cha-cha.
clue? Okay. All right.
Modern dance.
Whatever it is, I'm sure it'll be great.
No,
whatever
it's gonna be fun.
I'm
Classic.
sure you'll be great.
It's a classic. Thank you,
You're
Anita.
already a winner to us.
Oh, Anita, thank you so much. We need to sing again together, too.
that we
Anita
could
has
do.
an amazing, fabulous voice. If we're talking about talent.
Thank you. You wonderful accompanist.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. 1:35, everybody. We'll keep chatting over here with the champ, and we'll be right back. Hey, welcome back, everyone. It's 1:38 right now, and we want to take you right to our conversation with Michael Babcock from TMZ, who has been monitoring what's going on with Nick Reiner's case today. Thank you so much for your time.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
So, obviously, he is charged with a heinous crime. What happened in court today?
Yeah, so Nick Reiner today in court pled not guilty to the grisly murders of his parents, Rob and Michelle Reiner. Obviously, we know that this is a case that has received an enormous amount of attention. It was shocking when it happened. Obviously, shocking then to learn that police had zeroed in on their own son, on Nick Reiner. Who was then arrested shortly after the crime was committed and has been sitting in a Los Angeles County jail until today when he appeared before a judge. He pled not guilty. He also waived his, he waived a right to essentially have a speedy hearing in his case. Because he waived that right, he will not be back in court for some time. But it's an incredibly complicated case, clearly something that his defense team wants time to prepare for, as I'm sure the prosecutors do as well. And this is potentially a case at the end of the day that could have death penalty implications here, because it's not just first-degree murder. There is a special circumstance attached to it, meaning that they can, if they wish, the DA in LA, he can pursue the death penalty. So about as serious, consequences on the line here as could ever be.
And what a complicated situation. I see that it was delayed in part because there was a private attorney that stepped away from the case.
Yeah, that's right. The attorney's name is Alan Jackson, too, and that might ring a bell with some people because he is one of the three or four more prominent defense attorneys in the entire country right now. Karen Reed was a case that he just got done, Alan did successfully defending. He has also over the years had a bunch of other really high-profile clients. Now, it's not exactly clear why he stepped away, but he was hired by Nick Reiner. He did represent him for a period of time, although it wasn't a very long period of time. And then he said because of conditions or circumstances that were beyond their control, he had to step away from the case. Because of that, it then went to a public defender, and obviously then the court had to allow that person to get up to speed. So because of that, it's been very slow going at the beginning of the case. I think at some point here it will start to pick up, but the process has been very slow thus far.
Mm-hmm. And when you talk about murdering parents, this would be horrible in any type of scenario, but I just think it's like an especially tough situation when the person has siblings.
Yeah. I mean, I can't even imagine. Add to it too that Nick Reiner very publicly had issues over the course of his life, his adult life, and even as a child. And his parents were there for him by all accounts. Time after time, day after day, as he went through these struggles, and they were there, whether it was to support him financially, mentally, emotionally. I mean, again, you hear accounts from people who knew them who said that they were just tremendous parents to him and cared about him so much. And to think that ultimately that this is the way it ended for them, it's horrible. Again, not discounting that he did have real issues. He was diagnosed with something called schizoaffective disorder, which is a very serious medical condition, and it's something that really can cause you to struggle day in, day out living life. But for this to have seemingly happened here, at least that's what the authorities have obviously accused him of doing here, and that he was the one responsible for his parents' murder. It's almost too much to comprehend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so timeline-wise, what are we looking at from here?
Unclear. There will be a bunch of, exactly when, but there will be a bunch of hearings before this ultimately is scheduled for trial. I will say this, it seems very clear that they are setting up for some sort of insanity defense, either temporary insanity, but it seems like that is the defense that they are going to put on here. We don't know for certain, but by some of the moves and some of the things that have been done by the defense attorneys, it does seem like it's trending in that direction. And there have been many cases in the past who have been successful fighting charges with that defense. So I know it seems like this is an open and shut case, but I wouldn't be so sure that it's that certain. And it's going to be, it's going to be sad, but it will be interesting as well to watch this when it does ultimately, when it is time for trial and we see the evidence laid out.
Yeah, and just on a final note here, when we do go to trial, is there an anticipation that certain high-profile people, let's say, weren't they at like Conan O'Brien's home the night before this?
Yeah.
Like somebody like that could get called to the stand.
Yeah, I think it's very not just possible, I think it's likely. I think that's a great point too. They got into an argument at Conan O'Brien's holiday party, which was only a few hours before the murders took place. And it was supposedly Rob and Nick that got into this argument. Mom was there as well, and that things were so tense and so just sort of ugly between them in that moment that they decided to leave this very star-studded party and they went home. And obviously then we know what happens just a few hours later, potentially even less time. We only know when they left the party. It's not exactly clear when the murders took place. At most, though, it was a couple of hours.
Okay. All right. We'll continue to follow it, and hopefully when we call back to TMZ, you will be willing to come back and update us.
Of course, anytime.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, have a great rest of your day. It's about 1:45, everybody. We are anticipating a conversation with Representative Casten shortly here about his decision to skip out on tomorrow's big State of the Union address. This will be the first one for President Trump in his second term. There is much to discuss during that State of the Union. If you think about U.S.-Iranian tension right now, if you think about what's going on in Mexico right now, the big tariff decision that happened on Friday with the U.S. Supreme Court, and President Trump's decision after that to kind of find his own way to reinstate tariffs. Obviously, the economy is huge right now for so many people, foreign policy as well, immigration in the country. There are so many things. Even on the note of immigration, we do believe that Mara Martinez, the local woman, the Chicago woman who was shot 5 times by federal agents in this area, and eventually had that, she was initially called a domestic terrorist, and eventually those charges were dropped that were against her. She is going to be a guest of Congressman Jesus Chuy Garcia for the State of the Union address. But there are so many others, local politicians who have decided not to be there. Jan Schakowsky, obviously she is getting ready to exit from office, but still she has decided not to be there. Chicago Congressman Mike Quigley has decided not to be there for the State of the Union address. And again, we do know that Sean Casten has decided that he will join this boycott of the State of the Union address. So we're going to get more information from him about this growing movement and who else may be sitting it out as well, and what the plan really is from that. Are they going to all be together watching it somewhere? I mean, you still need to be aware of what is said, but we'll get into all of that coming up shortly. Again, we do anticipate he'll be joining us on the line any minute now. We're also still waiting for the hockey team. I mean, we it looks like they're waiting too, throwing up their hands like, wait, we're not the ones, sorry, we're not the ones that you came to see. No, we're waiting for the U.S. hockey team to get off of the plane so that they can, all these photographers just sitting and waiting for that moment when they come through those doors, but they have still been on the plane on the tarmac. So as soon as we get word that they are starting to come into the airport, we'll go back to that live picture there. It looks like everyone is ready. The security is ready. The cameras are ready. Everyone is ready, but we just still don't have the team actually coming through those doors. I don't know if they're running around right now and we're going to go to break and they're going to come through, but hopefully in 2 minutes we will not have missed it. Okay, so give us 2 minutes for a quick break and then we'll come back live. Welcome back. It's about 1:50 right now, and U.S. Congressman Casten is joining me. He says he will not be used as a prop for President Trump's theatrics tomorrow for the State of the Union address. Thank you so much for your time. I believe you're muted. I'm not sure if it's on our end or yours.
Sorry, thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem at all. Just wanted to make sure we can hear what you have to say, because I think it's an important discussion. You obviously are not the only one who's decided to boycott the State of the Union address tomorrow. Tell me about making that decision.
Well, it's essentially the same decision that I made last year, and I told our caucus last year that nobody goes to a theater to see the hecklers, right? And so there's something that is disrespectful to the room and disrespectful to the office of the president if you go and you heckle. But when you have a president who's been so disrespectful to the office he holds, you're in this lose-lose situation where either you're mistakenly understood to be giving the president respect he hasn't earned, or mistakenly understood to be disrespecting the office that's not there. So I just felt that it's better to watch from afar. We'll certainly pay attention. But we can't lose sight of the fact that everything that should be happening in our country is not happening. We can't lose sight of the fact that the President of the United States is a convicted felon, is an adjudicated rapist, is all over the Epstein files. And I'm not saying that we expect him to talk about those things, but this is so unprecedented in our history that if we end up normalizing this, we're only going to make it more common.
Yeah, I highly doubt he'll be speaking about the Epstein files, but let me ask you what issues you would like to see him address.
Well, I think all of us would like to see him behave like the President of the United States. I mean, wouldn't it be nice if he stood up and expressed empathy and sympathy for the victims of the Epstein files? I mean, we're talking about the tawdriness of this, but these are people whose lives have been destroyed, and wouldn't it be powerful for the President of the United States to say, I understand your pain? Wouldn't it be powerful for him to empathize with the families of Renee Good, the families of Alex Preddy, the families of all those folks in Chicago who've been terrorized by ICE, and saying, we're better than this as a country? Wouldn't it be nice if he said, we are going to be the defender of human rights and the rule of law around the world, and prop up vulnerable democracies? All of those things are things that any prior president would have prioritized, and they sound silly coming from this president, right? Wouldn't it be nice if he acknowledged that climate change is real and this is an existential threat to our species that we should be dealing with? All of those things I would submit to you. If he did them, he'd probably improve his poll numbers.
And it looks like most people want to hear some clarity, some real solutions for the economy.
Yes. I would remind everyone that, at the end of the Biden administration, we had one of the most booming economies in the world. We were creating jobs faster than any other of the first world countries. The dollar was strong. Stock markets were up. Stock markets are, of course, still up, but the dollar has collapsed. We've seen a complete collapse in jobs, particularly in the manufacturing sector in the United States. And some of that, to be sure, is because of the tariffs. A lot of it is the uncertainty. I met with European companies who've invested billions of dollars in the United States, and they looked at some of the on-again, off-again cuts in incentives for these offshore wind farms. There were, tens, hundreds of billions of dollars of investments. And they said to me, why would anybody want to invest in the United States under these conditions? I can't answer that question, right? And, one by one, those things add up to creating the kind of uncertainty that's here. And the president has the power to fix that. I just don't know that he has the capability.
When you mention the tariffs, I would like you to maybe expound on your thoughts on the Supreme Court decision on Friday morning and President Trump's decision to say, okay, I can't use the Emergency Powers Act for these tariffs, but I still have a means of enacting tariffs and going from 10 to 15% on those tariffs. You acknowledge that some of the economic positivity has been because of tariffs, but obviously there's a downside too, especially for small businesses.
Well, I guess I'd challenge that there's positivity from these tariffs. I think there's always a case for surgical, targeted tariffs to make sure that businesses work on a competitive playing field. If you've got a country who is, using child labor to have cheaper goods, it's appropriate for us to have a tariff that says we want to hold to higher water labor standards, and we can't just give you the ability to compete there. That's a very targeted approach to tariffs. That's not what this White House has done. They've put categoric tariffs on, everything imported from any country all over the world, and it is mathematically not really disputable that if you raise the cost of goods and services, the cost of goods and services go up. All tariffs are inflationary. That's what Scott Bessent said, the Treasury Secretary, just back in January 2024. So there's definitely pain coming from these tariffs. What the court did, I guess the good news is the court did it. The bad news is it took the court a year to do it. The court essentially affirmed what we had said in amicus filings with the court, that the Constitution is unambiguous. Only Congress has the power to impose tariffs. The court ultimately ruled that way, but by waiting a year, they've essentially scrambled. Someone described this to me as like putting a blender in a fish tank. And the court said, you can run the blender until we make our decision. Well, all you got left now is fish soup. And so now we've got this real challenge of how does a business get restitution? If you're an importer that paid the tariffs, how do we know, did you absorb those costs? Did you pass it along to distributors and retailers? Did the retailers absorb those costs? Did they pass them along to the consumers? The answer is all of the above. And there's lots of people who now have reasonable recourse to the United States government because they can say, look, you illegally raised my costs. I need to get my money back. But how do you prove that? And so we're going to end up tangled in a bunch of litigation that's going to tie up the courts. Like all litigation, it's going to favor the people who can afford lawyers, which is not necessarily going to be the people who are most affected. And the court didn't have to make it that complicated, so I'm glad they finally got it right. They could have moved much quicker.
Will it make a difference now that he's found another way for the tariffs?
It will create more uncertainty. The path that he's chosen, he has under statute, my understanding is he can do that for a finite period. I think it's 100, 150 days.
150.
And then Congress can overturn. The good news is we did just get a number of our Republican colleagues to join with us 2 weeks ago to overturn the tariffs against Canada. So hopefully we will continue to have bipartisan opposition to tariffs. I cannot imagine going into an election year that the Republican Party wants to be asking their members to vote on whether to raise prices for their consumers or challenge the Republican president of the United States going into an election year. But that's essentially what this ruling is asking them to do. And look, as a Democrat, I guess that's good. As an American, why are we doing this?
Yeah, lots of questions there remain. You mentioned human rights. You'd like to hear the president speak about human rights, and I immediately thought about his comments when it comes to Iran and where U.S.-Iranian relations stand right now. What do you think about the possibility of military action there?
So number one, I don't think you bomb your way into human rights. What the president has said, I'm just going to take him at his word, he's saying that he's doing this to address their nuclear program. The president also said several months ago that their nuclear program was eliminated because of the earlier strikes. We are still waiting and have not received very clear guidance on under what authority the president had to implement those strikes without first seeking congressional approval. And so we're now in a situation where we're saying, okay, you claimed that you eliminated the nuclear assets without congressional approval before. You're now shifting huge amounts of military equipment and personnel into the Middle East. And you haven't yet asked Congress for approval for whatever's going to come next. And you're saying this is because you want to shut down their nuclear program. All of these things cannot be true. I think the immediate fear to the region is we are sitting here with a very tenuous ceasefire in Israel and Gaza right now. And there's obviously a big concern with either Iran acting directly or through their proxies and Hezbollah funneling equipment in through Syria and into Jordan and into the West Bank. They have various ways to break the ceasefire in Israel. We also have an enormous military presence in Qatar. The long-range missiles that were substantially weakened in the prior attacks on Iran, they didn't go after the short-range missiles. Those short-range missiles can all reach our bases in Qatar from Iran. And in the view of the Iranians, they don't see a substantial difference between the United States and Israel. They see those two as essentially being joined at the hip. So in Iran's view, they still have the ability to hit the enemy, which would be us and our troops in Qatar. So it's tenuous. I would like to tell you that people at the Department of Defense and Department of State have thought through all those dynamics. Maybe they have, but they certainly have not briefed Congress yet on exactly how they're thinking through that. I hope we'll hear something in some sort of a classified setting this week. I would not expect we'd hear much of that at the State of the Union for obvious reasons.
Yeah, I was listening to the Prime Minister, an interview with the Prime Minister for Iran over the weekend, and he talked about the fact that, yeah, they don't have any missiles that could reach the mainland U.S., and he says, I can't necessarily speak to military power, but yeah, it would be our military bases there that they could reach, and that they would feel as though if they were provoked, they would be defending themselves.
Yeah, and I mean, we can, to say that the region is complicated would be an understatement. Iran doesn't have a lot of friends left in the region. The Saudis, the Emiratis, the Jordanians are not particularly keen on what Iran's doing. They certainly don't want to have the massive refugee crises that will happen if this really escalates in a dangerous way. So I think there is an opportunity to use more diplomatic tools to manage the situation. I think the nervousness we all have is that if you move straight to more kinetic tools, or even threatening that you are about to use those kinetic tools, you're taking a big bet that Iran is not going to try to preemptively move in ways that frustrate the interests not only of the United States but everybody in the region.
Yeah, and the president spoke when people were protesting there about wanting to protect the protesters. How does that sit with you? Obviously, we have protesters here in our country that are protesting our government. How does that sit with you?
I mean, you've highlighted the inconsistency, right? I would like to have a president who cares as much or more about Americans' rights to all our constitutional rights to free speech, to assembly, than those in Iran. I'm glad he's supporting them in Iran. I think, and again, to be sort of more regional about this, I think if you are an Iranian, particularly an Iranian government, you're very concerned that the government is unpopular. There have been these mass protests in the street, and you're nervous about some sort of uprising that might topple the power or question their legitimacy. What's happened through the protests and with some of the words that came out of the White House was no real meaningful opposition arose. Now, maybe that means the opposition is too weak and too fragmented. Maybe it means the U.S. didn't do their job. But if you're looking at this from an Iranian lens, they've survived and the regime is still pretty intact. And while they may not have been happy to be attacked, a few months ago, I don't think they necessarily feel like they lost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's switch our conversation to immigration enforcement. Obviously, there's a partial government shutdown as Democrats are pushing for pushing for the abolishment of ICE, others pushing for reform. Where do you stand on that particular issue, and what do you hope to come from this holding of the line that Democrats have right now on DHS, because there are Republicans who feel like it's gone too far?
Well, look, they shouldn't be controversial. When you have the United States government murdering American citizens, not being held accountable, and lying in courts about what's clearly been proven false from video evidence that's there, you have to reform that institution. You cannot allow that institution to continue. And the idea that it's somehow controversial or partisan to say that we should just hold ICE officers to the same standards we hold for our police officers, be identified, don't wear a mask, have body cameras, don't attack someone without proper judicial warrants, and make sure that you honor people's rights to due process. All of those things. These should not be controversial. And in good conscience, I can't support any kind of ICE funding that doesn't include those protections. Now, I would note that if we chose not to fund $1 of ICE, so completely defunded ICE in this appropriations bill, they would still be able to run at current levels for about 4 years because of the $75 billion that was allocated to ICE in the so-called Big Beautiful Bill. So there's no accountability to ICE for the next 4 years unless we force it through this appropriations process, and there is no way through the appropriations process that we can shut ICE down, short of, I don't know, funding them at a level of negative $75 billion. So we have this huge mess that was created by this massive ramp up in that big ugly bill, and I don't know how this gets through. I do like Ranking Member Rosa DeLauro has proposed that we separate ICE from the other provisions of that bill. TSA is in that bill, FEMA is in that bill. Let's fund those things that are not controversial and then deal with ICE. So far, we haven't seen any sign from Republican leadership they're willing to do that, but I think that would be the most responsible way to get this forward so that we can then figure out how to make sure that we don't go another day where some American sees somebody pull up in a uniform holding a gun and wonders whether that person is there to help or to hurt.
And speaking of that, I mentioned earlier on the broadcast that Marimar Martinez, a woman here in Chicago who was shot 5 times by federal agents during Operation Midway Blitz, will be a guest of Congressman Garcia, Jesus Chuy Garcia. And that will be for the State of the Union address. They will be there. They will be present. Is there power, especially from Illinois' delegates, is there power in more presence? Or, does it kind of isolate him to be sitting there if others are pulling out of being there for the State of the Union in person?
There's no simple answer to this, and I certainly don't, what I think is right for me doesn't mean that that's what I think is right for everybody. I think there's always a really compelling opportunity at the State of the Union because your guest is someone who you can immediately put on TV and tell their story. The media will be out there. And so it's a good opportunity for all of us to elevate people and stories from our communities. And from that vantage point, I completely understand why Chuy is doing this, and I'm glad he is. I think, just as a personal example of how this gets challenging, in Trump's first term, I brought as a guest a guy who is, I think he's now 102. His parents had moved him out of Germany as a Jew in the 1930s. His parents then went to Buchenwald and escaped. And Dieter ultimately ended up working on the Manhattan Project, just this amazing American life. And I brought him as my guest at Trump's first State of the Union and elevated his story, and I think inspired a lot of people, certainly inspired me. But when I picked him up out of the gallery afterwards to welcome back, I said, what did you think? And he looked at me and he said, I've seen that speech before. And, it's just this moment where you sit there and say, I want to elevate those stories, but I also don't want to put you in a position that is triggering for you, is emotionally hard for you, is putting you in a position where you feel like you're being a prop. And like I said, there's no right answer to that question, other than that I would like to have a president who doesn't force us to have to think about those sorts of trade-offs.
Everyone is so dug in, though, right now. In your conversation, you're saying, certain things that you don't believe Republicans will work with the Democrats on. Obviously, Democrats or Republicans don't feel like Democrats are working with them on certain things. President Trump's new approval ratings came out over the weekend on Sunday morning, and it says that only 39% of Americans approve of the way that he is handling the job of president. The poll also found 47% of Americans strongly disapprove of President Trump, but it is a midterm election year. What if the midterms don't prove that people are, even if they don't maybe approve of President Trump, he's not the one on the ballot, and things don't turn out where there's a Democratic wave, where Republicans still maintain power?
Well, look, I take those polling numbers. Let's take the inverse of those polling numbers because that's where the optimism is. Overwhelming majorities of Americans are not dug in, right? If Trump's at 39% approval, that means 61% of Americans have a common set of shared values. That's kind of beautiful. You know, it reminds me of that wonderful old line of Abraham Lincoln's that there's always been just enough virtue in the nation to save us. And that was the lesson in 2018. You know, of course, we'll see what happens in the elections. But I certainly find, you know, as I go out and talk to people, there's a whole lot of things that are not particularly controversial. All of us are very proud to be the country that, you know, created the idea of human rights in our Bill of Rights. All of us are very proud to be the country that won the Cold War, that won that won the Civil War, that created 70 years of peace in Europe. Those are things. Those are truths we all hold to be self-evident. They may not be truths shared by the president. And yes, it may be challenging for certain elected Republicans to challenge the president right now. But, you know, the fact that we got virtually every Republican to vote to release the Epstein files in spite of the fact that Donald Trump didn't want them to, the fact that we got 12 Republicans to join us on the ACA extensions, the fact that we got support for overturning the tariffs with Canada, and on all those votes, there were more who wanted to but felt politically uncomfortable. That doesn't mean that the gig is up, but I do think it's a good reminder that there's more decency in this country than there is hatred, and we just need to provide space for folks to come forward, come into that light.
Well, that is important, and I think that's a good note to end our conversation on. Representative Casten, great speaking with you. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, take care. It's 2:11, everyone. Give us 2 minutes and we'll be right back. Our next guest is already on the line. All right, welcome back. It's just about 2:15, and we want to have a conversation about AI bias. I've been saying I feel like there is a conversation about AI when it comes to almost anything right now. But let's bring in Matthew Zook. He is with the University of Kentucky to talk a little bit more about the new findings here. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. Very pleased to be here.
So our general mind frame when it comes to AI might be that it is very objective, but you see this very differently.
Yeah, exactly. The key part of this paper that recently came out in a journal called Platform and Society that we're talking about right now is really that the way that these large language models like ChatGPT are are based on the kind of data, the kind of information that human beings have created over centuries, the past kind of decades. Not to get too technical about it, but these kinds of textual input and other kinds of inputs get scraped by the machines, they get modeled out, and then they shape the kind of responses that you get when you start interacting with ChatGPT. When you ask it, questions such as, where should I live? Where might I move? What's a good place for me to vacation, and so forth. And so the goal of our paper was to sort of really illustrate this in a very clear way, and we like to think a very compelling way.
Okay, what were the surprising elements to you?
Okay, well, the surprising elements is, and I'll just sort of say, if people are interested in taking a look at some of the results directly, we run a website called inequalities.ai, and you can take a look to your heart's content for all kinds of different rankings and things like that. I won't go into the details behind the methodology in terms of how we did it, but what we did is we were comparing, asked ChatGPT to compare places, like countries, but cities and even neighborhoods in New York, for example, and asking questions, everything from which place has better pizza to which place has more beautiful people. So you can sort of imagine when you start talking about which city has the best pizza in the United States, you start having very subjective kind of responses.
Surely they said really Chicago.
Well, I will just direct you to the website and ask you to look at that. I do not have a horse in this race. So we do that, and so at the level of pizza, it's kind of fun and it's kind of interesting, and we do that because that's sort of thinking about what might get people interested about these kind of comparisons. But it gets a lot more problematic when you start talking about questions such as, where are people more beautiful? Where are people smarter? And one of the trends that we saw consistently, no matter if we were looking at countries or cities or neighborhoods, places that were poorer, had less information about them, were ranked lower. So you have results where when you ask which countries are smarter, most of sub-Saharan Africa is ranked in the lowest category, where Western Europe and other more economically developed countries are ranked very highly. When we ask questions about where are people more beautiful, what we saw consistently across different cities when we looked at neighborhoods that were predominantly richer or had whiter populations were ranked as having more beautiful people than places that were poorer or had less white populations.
Which is concerning for various reasons, but I do think about the greater embracing of AI as time goes on, and I see this concern just escalating quite a bit.
Yeah, exactly, and this is precisely why we decided we wanted to do this research, because it's in our mind, or our argument, it's precisely when sort of a technology just gets used all the time, it sort of fades into our background. We don't think about, when was the last time you thought about a Google search, or what was being fed to you by your social media algorithm and things like that. The same or similar processes are happening within within ChatGPT, and it's so easy for us to normalize that kind of understanding of the world, and particularly as people are using these systems as confidants and friends and therapists even. You really have to start thinking, or our goal for this is to try to get people to start thinking about these kinds of questions and be aware that this is an issue that they need to think about.
Yeah, and maybe expound on that a little bit more. Like, what should we be doing as AI is, more and more a part of everyday living? And we're seeing, well, it might just be just as biased as humans. What should we be doing? How should we be monitoring our interaction with it?
Yeah, well, one of the analogies we use is we suggest people think about it as that sort of kooky, crazy, maybe slightly racist older relative that they have, who says things at Thanksgiving dinner that you might not be agreeing with, and wonder about where that came from, and treating it about, so that's the first step. That's sort of the raising awareness that we're trying to do that, and just ask people to keep that in mind as they're using this kind of technological system. At a sort of broader level, when we're thinking about, what might you do in terms of the models themselves, regulation, or sort of more openness, I think that's sort of a very key thing we'd also like to see. I mean, for ChatGPT, our study was done from the outside. We were doing these different queries, we were doing the rankings from it. We could not see inside the black box. And so having better access to these kinds of black boxes, particularly the very popular ones like ChatGPT, which we have hundreds of millions of, if not, I mean, haven't looked lately, but hundreds of people using this every day. What is going in there? Why do we have some sort of rankings like that? And particularly in cases where it's low information queries, or where the model doesn't actually have a lot of information about what the question or the topic is, having the model come back and say, I don't have enough information to give an accurate answer on that.
All right. Well, again, I think it's such a big topic in society right now. We'll be having plenty of discussions about AI, both today and for many tomorrows to come. So thank you so much for the research that you all have done and for joining us here today on Chicago Live to talk a little bit about it.
Okay, thanks. It was a pleasure.
All right, take care. It's 2:20 right now, and when we are having a discussion like that about AI, it leads right into our next guest, and this is Lucas Rothar. He is an assistant special agent in charge of the FBI, as they are now seeing impersonators of federal agents. You think about AI, how it gets used in a lot of nefarious things. This would be one of them. So thank you so much for being here with me right now to talk a little bit about what you all are seeing and how people can prevent themselves from becoming victim to one of these impersonators.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me on today. We've seen fraudsters and scamsters try a variety of different things over the years, and they're always evolving. I just want to bring attention to the public. A new trend that we are seeing is going beyond that phone call that we all get on our cell phones, that you get a fraud alert, and we've become accustomed to kind of recognizing, like, hey, this is a fraud. They're asking for a bunch of personal information. They're asking me to divulge my passwords, my bank accounts. And what we've seen recently is people are turning to video evidence, possibly AI, to kind of give people something to see so they can believe in. And our concern is people are impersonating FBI agents with realistic, almost sets behind them, with FBI kind of the windbreakers that you might see in a movie, flashing in quick identification, and really putting that high pressure on potential victims to give up their information, to transfer money out of their accounts, and quite frankly, using the position of the FBI to threaten people that they're going to be in jail quickly if they don't do that, which is really concerning. It's a different feel when you're looking at somebody that you think looks like an FBI agent. It looks like an American flag behind them. That's different than just getting that phone call and them claiming to be that person. But if you're not seeing it in front of you, you might not believe it.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, this is like, we see the advancement over time. Like you said, a phone call. Okay, well, now the phone call says they actually have a name of somebody in your family, or now they can have a voice of somebody in your family. And then it turns to actually seeing people and them saying that they're an agent and you having to purse through that. What are some giveaways that say that this would be definitely AI versus knowing that it's not?
Yeah, there's a couple of huge red flags and this goes for whatever type of scam. The tactic is the same. It's playing upon fear and kind of surprise. So if you're getting a phone call or a video call that's unsolicited, that you didn't seek out, and within that phone call is quick threats, you have to cooperate immediately, you have to do this, high pressure. And when you try to push back, like, hey, can I get my husband or wife? Could I get my parent on the phone? Could I get my son or daughter or a family member? Those are often met with a quick response of, nope, you have to act now or you're going to be in more trouble. That high pressure tactic, what we advise at the FBI, is just to take a beat. Because if law enforcement is contacting you, we will understand that people are caught by surprise. They're entitled to talk to their family members. They can talk to a lawyer. Those scammers and fraudsters, they won't want you to do that, obviously, because somebody will alert them, this sure sounds like a fraud. The other thing that we constantly see through a lot of these schemes is kind of pivoting off of a communications device like a phone. They might want you to download an app to talk to them. or only talk on an encrypted application, or they might advise you to delete all histories of that conversation that you've had with them. That should be an early warning sign. So again, just taking that beat and asking, is this something that an FBI agent or a law enforcement official would ask me to do? If you do have any doubts, you can always call back to a publicly available phone number. Find that phone number that's not provided to you, find the publicly available phone number through a simple internet search. And any FBI agent, you can call back to your local FBI field office and ask to verify their identity and ask to be reconnected with them.
And how do you all investigate AI? How do you get back to the humans?
Yeah, I mean, so that's the core of what we do. That's the bread and butter of the FBI is getting, like you said, getting back to the humans. So we have a variety of investigative techniques that we utilize, whether it's through AI or just a traditional, fraud and scam that's going on. We'll utilize all those tools. And what we try to do at the FBI is try to coalesce all these frauds that are happening, not just in the Chicagoland area, they're happening nationally and internationally. And so we can take a wide view and look at the common trends, tactics, and then try to capitalize on them either making a mistake or us having a breakthrough in our investigations by identifying the actual humans that are behind this. Mm-hmm. So what I do ask everybody in the public to do is if you're a victim of one of these, or even if you're not a victim, but you've been preyed upon and attempted to be a victim, please report it to us. It's through kind of having a wide lens through the FBI has through every field office that we're actually able to, charge and bring justice to those perpetrating these schemes.
Yeah. How do you even, in your opinion and with your expertise, what goes through your mind in terms of this is where we are in terms of having to investigate to find the humans behind AI?
Yeah, it's the creativity of criminals never ceases to amaze me, but it also doesn't surprise me. When the motivation of financial gain and preying on people is the easy way out, kind of that motivation is the same. And where my heart goes out to is the victims behind this, the exact same scheme. And I know what goes into it. They prey upon people who maybe are older, that don't understand the AI implications, or online. So as far as that, and I know sometimes some shame comes on that, people don't want to report it. I do want to tell everybody, do not be embarrassed, do not be ashamed. We have plenty of victims who are sophisticated in the financial industry, in the law enforcement industry, and people fall prey to these crimes each and every day. So the sophistication, I think, is the part that keeps on growing literally year by year, month by month. And that's why we just want to bring awareness to the public to really be aware, because it is the same tactics. It's that high pressure, must act, keep it secret, don't talk to anybody else. Those should be the red flags that all of us are looking for, just to make sure and ask those couple questions and take a pause.
And again, worst case scenario, if someone does fall victim, what do they need to do?
So anyone can be welcome to call the FBI, 1-800-CALL-FBI. They can go to our website, fbi.gov, and at the very top, there's a big banner for submit a tip. You can walk through that. You can report it to ic3.gov, or you can call your local police department. The importance is reporting these crimes so that we can try to bring people to justice who are preying upon the victims.
That is the most important thing. Thank you so much for your time. We certainly appreciate you being here. Again, Assistant Special Agent in Charge with FBI Chicago, Lucas Rothar. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. It's 2:28, everyone. Give us 2 minutes and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Right now it's 2:30 and more than 600,000 utility customers are without power across the Northeast as they have been dealing with blizzard conditions. Governor Healy and other politicians are holding a news conference right now in Massachusetts. Let's listen in.
You get to a warming shelter, but the restoration of power, I think, is first and foremost, and that's why we need people to be off the roads, and we need the equipment there, and we're working to move as quickly as we can on that. Fortunately, the tides were good. It's good that we had tides at 3 a.m., 3 p.m. They didn't coincide with the direct height of the storm, or at least the first high tide preceded real snow. So. That was good. We've seen less, I think, coastal flooding than in some other instances, but the wind gusts have been significant. I mean, they're hurricane force level, and that's a real problem.
Historically speaking, how rare is a travel ban like this?
Remember?
2015 was the last time.
Yeah.
Yes.
2015. Yeah. Pretty infrequent, I think, and if you go back, you'd have to go back several years before that.
Is this one where the meteorologists got it right, and we're dealing with the reality of what the...
Okay, just listening into a bit of that, again, as they update people on their plans and some of the, positives coming from things. In a lot of ways, they would look at some of the things that have happened as like worst case scenario, but they're also pointing out some of the things that didn't happen that are very positive for them that could have led to worsening conditions in that area. So we're going to continue to monitor it. Again, that was there in Massachusetts, but going on down further south, this is Florida, where you're seeing plenty of people coming off of planes who have been out in Milan for the Winter Olympics. And we know that just moments ago we saw a rake that for us in TV it is a row of mics. You can see it kind of off there to the left hand side of your screen when the photographer turns just a bit, but that's a row of mics. We call it a rake that's set up for, it appears to be possibly the mayor of Miami and also maybe some of the players of USA Hockey. The men's team coming off of a gold medal, 3-time overtime. Just a matchup that was for the ages there, and we've been waiting on them. We've seen like a couple of people come off. We've seen a few people with like the USA shirts on, but we're waiting on those gold medals. We want to see the players as they're getting off of the plane there, just arriving to Miami from Milan. And we know that, again, this is a team that's going to be celebrated for quite some time. Men, we have not had, USA men's hockey has not had a gold medal since 1980. So this team is to be celebrated. They will go in the history books here, but we're all waiting to hear more from them and to see more of them as some of the folks have been coming off the planes here, but just waiting on the team to arrive. So a couple of different situations, again, that we're monitoring. Obviously, as we wait there in Florida, the conditions are pretty nice for folks in Florida, of course. But on up the East Coast, conditions are much different. Look at all the fans that are kind of standing there, the photographers that are waiting. You see the USA hat there. So yeah, this is Florida up the East Coast. They're, holding press conferences for a much different reason because of the weather conditions there and this blizzard, this historic blizzard there. So we're really talking about history either way. But of course, the history a little bit more on the positive side here in Florida as those family members and fans. You can see some of the folks who have on their jerseys. They await the arrival. We know that they're there. We know that they're there. That we saw the plane arrive on the tarmac. But we're just waiting on the team members from USA Men's Hockey, the champion team, to come through these doors and to be celebrated by those who have arrived there at the airport in Miami. Let's see. we kind of keep getting excited about people coming through the doors, and they're like, nope. Okay, there's one of the players right there. All right, here's a bit of a moment. We're getting some gold medals and cheers. Let's listen in.
Gold medal around his neck. Can we see the gold medal? And here comes some more players. You can see that.
Guys. Put your mic.
Sir, how you feeling today? The gold looks great around your neck.
Thank you. Yeah, feeling great. A little tired, but it feels good to be home and celebrating with the guys, our families last night. It's special. It means a lot.
Can you show us your medal?
One right here.
What's the last 24 hours been like?
Has it sunk in yet?
Honestly, not really. Yeah, it still feels pretty surreal. I mean, I don't think we really realize the magnitude of just everything that's going to happen in the last 24 hours. Just because you're just in it, you're living right in it. Getting back here, seeing all the support from back home. It's just incredible what this team was able to accomplish, and representing the U.S. Obviously, it's an honor. So we're ecstatic, and we're excited to be back home celebrating.
Can you put into words what it's like since 1980 this hasn't happened, and your team being able to accomplish that?
Yeah, it's special. I mean, it feels like it's been too long. I think the U.S. has been knocking on the door for quite a long time. It's been some time since we've had some best on best tournament as far as the Olympics go with NHL players in it. So we got a taste of it last year with the Four Nations, and I think it just made everybody extremely hungry and motivated to come here, go to Italy, and get the job done. Like you said, it's been a long time, and it's great for the United States. It's great for the game of hockey in America, and it's pretty special just to be a part of that.
The last 24 hours good.
Matthew, that was beautiful what you did for Johnny. Matthew, that was beautiful what you did for Johnny's kid.
Matthew, what's the last 24 hours been like?
It's been a whirlwind. It's been amazing. It's a dream of ours. It was such an amazing way to unite the country. We felt the support being across the Atlantic, and now being back on home soil, we can feel it the second the wheels hit the ground. So excited to be back in the greatest country in the world, and so excited to celebrate.
Have you spoken to your Canadian teammates yet?
Just in line after the game, but no, they have their own plane back here, so I'll see them in a few days.
How are you guys going to celebrate here in Miami?
We have spending the day here today, and then off to DC tomorrow, and then I'll be back in Lauderdale on Wednesday.
Matthew, can you show us your medal?
Exactly what our plan
Matthew, can I get a selfie?
Matthew, what's it going to be like in the locker room with the
Matthew, that was really nice what you did for Johnny's kid.
It'll be a little bit different, but I've played against my teammates before, whether it's Four Nations or going back to other international stuff or World Junior, so it's a little bit weird, but nothing too different. I don't think so, and I don't think it's like winning the cup. It doesn't really set in until like weeks or months or as time goes by. So now that we're back on U.S. soil and just the reaction we're getting from everybody, I mean, we just did something that only 30 plus Americans have done in 100 years, and kind of changed the history of hockey in the United States, and we should be very honored, very happy, and we should be allowed to celebrate this because it's a great accomplishment.
Matthew, how does it feel to be here to win the Stanley Cup twice?
I don't know. I think it's different. I was talking with Ikes about it. It's almost it's almost more meaningful to everybody else in the sense of it's a way to unite the whole country. You know, I think when you go through the 2-month grind and the 82-game grind and the NHL, like nothing will compare to that. That's as hard of a trophy as you're going to win in sports, the Stanley Cup. But when it comes to bringing together Americans, whether they like hockey or not, the Olympics and an Olympic hockey player at that stage against Canada, that's as high as it's going to get.
Last one. What was it like to get that phone call from the president?
It was super cool. It was an honor. You know, it really is hearing from the president of the United States. You know, hearing that he was supporting us and all the other athletes and wanting us all to bring home as many gold medals as we can. So we're definitely honored to represent him and the millions, hundreds of millions across the country and bringing the gold medal back.
Thank you.
You guys can move this way.
Jack, congratulations to you, my friend. How are you feeling? Has it set in?
Feel good, obviously. Last 2 days or whatever, it's been long, quickly. But it's so good, but we're super excited to be gold medalists.
Jack, what's the last 24 hours been like for you?
Yeah, it's been long, like no sleep, obviously, and then we're enjoying it with our family, friends. Great celebration after the game, and then we had like a 4:30 bus to get on the flight to get here. So happy to be back in the U.S. now, and we're gonna enjoy this for a few days.
You're from Florida. How are you going to celebrate in Miami?
Yeah, and was born here, obviously, me and my brother. So lucky that we get to spend a couple days with our teammates, and we're gonna enjoy the night.
Last two guys. Jack, take us through that moment. You get hit in the face, you lose a tooth or two, and you still maintain your composure to stay in the game. You're tough enough to keep playing, score the winning goal. Take us through all of that. What was that like?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like definitely crazy for you guys because just different profession, but in hockey, like if you lose your teeth, it's not even a question of like coming back and playing. That's like automatic stuff. I just like was feeling around my mouth, and I was just disappointed I lost my teeth, but it is what it is now. So,
can you give us a smile?
Mid thing, you interrupted me, but I don't know. I'm gonna fix these things. I want my good smile back.
Last one. Can you give us a smile?
There are some young fans here. What are your messages? What's your message to young hockey players, to young fans?
Yeah, like that was the best. Honestly, the gold medal, it's so important for us because we worked so hard to get to that point. It's for us, but the best part is for, like I was saying, the day of the gold medal is for all the guys that are coming before us, and all the young kids that are going to come after us. So, just like when I was a kid, I was growing up dreaming of being where I'm at now. In 10 years, there's going to be another Austin Matthews. There's going to be another Matthew Tkachuk and another Quinn Hughes. So that's why we play, and we want to, leave USA hockey in a better place than it was when we first got there.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks, Jack. Congrats.
Is that it?
Oh my goodness, such beautiful moments there, hearing from some of the players from Team USA. That gold medal looks so phenomenal on them. Again, it has been since 1980, the Miracle on Ice, when a USA men's hockey team came away with the ultimate win there at the Winter Olympics. So we are super proud of them, and all of those fans gathered there at the Miami airport to see them as they are coming back to home territory here. We heard from Austin Matthews, who is Team USA's men's hockey team captain. We heard also from Matthew Tkachuk. I think it's Tkachuk, as he was speaking there. Wonderful story for that particular family. Matthew and his brother Brady were both on the team, so we got to see the two of them reach that pinnacle in their sport together there. We also heard from Jack Hughes. Now, Jack Hughes, of course, the story with Jack Hughes is the missing teeth. So he came back with a gold medal and a few less teeth. But still, just such a wonderful time for these young men here. They talked about how much of a whirlwind the last 24 hours has been, that this has been so amazing for them. They talked about uniting the country as the Olympics often does. It gives us a shared a shared purpose of cheering for our country together. And so the pride in being able to be a part of that experience, being back, how important that is for them and how it feels to finally get their feet back on U.S. soil. And the fact that they have had no sleep after all of that. You know, they go through 3 overtimes, then the celebrations, and then they had like a 4:30 flight, or bus to the flight. So they have had no sleep. So even as they're speaking, they're like, I am ecstatic. This is a wonderful thing. This is the best day of my life, you know, because they're tired. They're tired. They have been through so much, but it's great to see so many people that have gathered to greet them back here at home. That's Jack there, Jack Hughes, that I was just speaking about. And he talked about leaving USA Hockey better than they found it, and how special that has to be. Again, so super proud of these young men reaching such a wonderful pinnacle in their sport that they have worked so hard for so many years, and the historic moment that they have brought to the U.S. Going over to Milan and coming back as gold medalists. It's 2:46. Our chief meteorologist walked in, so give us 2 minutes. We'll set things up, and we'll hear from her about the changing conditions outside. Okay, everybody, it's just about 2:50. I see the sun shining outside, but is that helping the temperature at all?
No. It looks nice out there. I can tell you from personal experience today, it does not feel very nice. But, you know, it's all in what you get used to. And we've talked a lot about this recently, how it's all about your perspective. Well, our perspective has shifted here because we had 40s, 50s, and 60s for a long time. In fact, we had 12 days in a row consecutively.
It was wonderful.
Yes, it was wonderful that we had above average temperatures, even a couple record warm days in the mix. And then this past weekend, everything changed. So we have to get used to that, and it's sticking around here for the next couple of days. So it is cold out there today. We have temperatures for a lot of us that are sitting in the 20s to near 30 degrees. Couple spots have been able to sneak into the 30s, but the wind is still getting us. You know, we always say that in the Midwest.
It's a game changer.
For the wind,
I had to pull my bubble coat back out.
Oh, me too. And I have the most ridiculous hat that I'll wear, and it like warms up my cheeks and everything, like flaps hang down. And I thought I was done with it for this year. Yes, I know it's only February. I should have known better, especially as a meteorologist here. But yeah, had to break that thing out this morning because it was very cold. Wind chills this morning, we're in the single digits. Out there right now, it feels like we're in the upper teens to low 20s. But yeah, it's chilly out there. Now the next couple of days, we're expected to see temperatures that are going to be bouncing around a little bit. So there's going to be a little bit of back and forth between the 30s, the 40s. Tomorrow we have a system swinging through that's going to bring at least the chance of some showers, mainly in the form of rain.
Okay.
I think based on the timing of those coming through. So,
and we have to ask that because, you know, over the weekend it was like, oh, snow again?
I know. And it was fairly relentless.
Yeah.
You know, we had several rounds of it, especially here in the city, also in Northwest Indiana. By the way, though, the winter weather advisory that was previously in effect for Porter County, that was originally extended until 6 p.m., that has actually expired early. So, you know, things are starting to taper off there. And we only have a few minutes left on our LaPorte County winter weather advisory. That's going to be coming to an end at 3. So let's talk temps for the week. So we're, again, kind of bouncing back and forth a lot. Tomorrow we're going to be in the 40s for highs, mainly rain showers coming through, but again, we could be seeing some snow mixing in at times, especially as those temperatures begin to cool off again during the evening hours. But then on Wednesday, we're back to seeing some sunshine. It feels pretty good. We're going to be in the mid-30s on Wednesday, mid to upper 30s expected on Thursday. Thursday, we're watching a system very closely. Now, most models are really trying to push this thing to the south. So I think it's going to be more of a downstate problem, not so much our problem. But for locations near and south of I-80, we're still kind of on the lookout for seeing some of that light snow moving through. However, the overall trend has been almost every single model run pushing that system farther to the south. So that's good for us. On Thursday, I think there's going to be a lot of us, especially north of I-80, that end up staying dry. And then on Friday, sunshine, 50s, soak it in, because this weekend we're getting cold again. So again, you know, this week is just, you know, it's a very normal up and down roller coaster temperature week. You know, we see these a lot, especially as we're approaching that spring season. And on Sunday, that is March 1st. That is the beginning of meteorological spring. So in my book, I am counting down. We have 6 days left until spring.
And the rest of us have like...
You have a little while longer. I believe
26?
It's March 20th. I think the 20th is the spring equinox. But regardless, we're getting there, everybody. An average high temperature for this time of the year now stands at 39 degrees. That's pretty good. You know, it's not the 50s that we had, but it goes to show you that every 3 to 4 days or so, we're seeing that number going up. And every single day through the end of this month, we're actually gaining about 2 minutes and 40 seconds to our day. And then by the end of the month, when we get to March 1st, it's 2 minutes and 45 seconds per day that we're adding of daylight.
That in and of itself really does help you to get through the temperature swings, just seeing more of the sun.
Yes. And in the entire month of February, we are supposed to gain about 70 minutes of daylight. In March, that jumps to, I believe, 86.
Okay.
So, I mean, we're cruising along. We're getting there, everybody.
We're getting there, and we're in it together one way or the other. Now, usually I would just ask you about what we're going through here, but there's such a massive system on the East Coast that I want to ask you about that, because it does affect people here, especially people who are going to be traveling.
Yes, lots of flight delays, cancellations. There's, you know, I'm sure you've been talking about the travel bans and stuff that have been taking place in big cities. So it's the I-95 corridor that actually yesterday, when I was doing a little segment on it, there were blizzard warnings that extended all the way from Virginia yesterday evening all the way up to Maine. So right along the coast, along that I-95 corridor, 1 to 2 feet of snow. And, you know, this is that time of the year that it's not just here that we're sick of the snow, right? Imagine being over on the East Coast and dealing with a system like this. And there's already been some record daily snowfall amounts. I did see coming out of Philly that there was a daily record snowfall for today, and there's already been totals that have been 20 plus inches in some other cities around the East Coast. So major system, very disruptive, but fortunately we should start to see that winding down going into tomorrow. That's going to begin to exit the region and exit the Maine area. So getting there, but meteorological spring, 6 days away.
Let's go with meteorological spring. If it gets us to turn the page, we'll go with it. You know, we'll all go with it. Minus the meteorological degrees, we'll go with it. You know, I mean, it is a place like Virginia versus somewhere like Philly or New York. Like Philly and New York, they've dealt with it. They know how to deal with it.
Right.
Place like Virginia, you're just shutting down for a minute. Although I heard that this was the first snow day for schools in New York City, I believe, since 2019.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's significant.
Yeah.
For places that get it all the time, we had, just like us, when we had a snow day, people are like, a snow day for the kids here?
Right.
Yeah. It's got to be
definitely
significant.
a disruptive system, but I think everybody is. Well, there's nothing we can do but deal with it, right? So we're dealing with it, getting through it. But yeah, if you have travel plans, if you have a flight, even later in the week, we're going to be seeing those residual effects from this for days. So if you have travel plans at all to the East Coast, really, I would say today all the way through at least Thursday, I'd be checking your plans. Yeah.
Whew, what a week. What a week. There's a lot. So we hope that everyone will be safe. If you have those travel plans, check before you get to the airport. They're probably going to be sending you something anyway. So, just check your email, check your text, that kind of thing before you head out to the airport. And for us, hopefully it's coming in the form of rain.
Yeah, mainly rain for us. Again, tomorrow we have a chance of rain. A little bit of snow could mix in, but it's not going to accumulate to anything. And this week, it's up and down. There's a lot going on, but it's still a fairly quiet week, if that makes sense. We have temperatures all over the place, but only a couple systems that we're keeping an eye on, and it could be worse, right? That's going to be my new mantra after seeing what the East Coast is going through. But yeah, I'm a beam of optimism today because it's not us.
Crazy watching the reporters who were out there when the snow first started, and then going back to those same reporters when they are standing in feet of snow.
Yeah, and of course it's very windy. Nor'easters, they're very known for that, of having high winds. Winds is, gusting over 50 miles per hour at times. So when you're dealing with snow on top of those winds, it's not only whipping it around and creating those blizzard-like conditions, but also you have blowing and drifting, and the crews just cannot keep up with it, right? Because as soon as you clear that snow off of the roadways, it's just blowing right back in. So it's kind of a lost cause almost until those winds can die down.
I saw the concept of a bomb cyclone.
Yeah, so really, that's a really flashy way of saying that a system is intensifying really, really quickly. So in order for a system to bomb out is what we call that in the meteorological world. What that means is that it is dropping 24 millibars in pressure in 24 hours.
Wow.
So essentially, the best way to think about it is that, yes, it's a technical term because you have to meet that criteria in order to be a bomb cyclone, but it means that it's a rapidly intensifying low pressure system. And whenever you have pressure changes that happen that quickly, that's when you really do have a lot of heavy precipitation. You have really high winds. So winds are essentially controlled by pressure changes. The Earth constantly wants to even itself out. That's the best way you can think about it. So when you have highs and lows that are constantly, circling their way around the Earth, those stronger low pressure systems, the wind is constantly flowing to them, and it's actually the Earth's way of just kind of evening out those pressure falls, because the air has to go somewhere, but it's being wrapped into those systems.
Well, I'm glad we are not in that.
Yeah.
It's rare when you look at Manhattan and you don't see the sidewalks full of people.
Quiet.
Yeah. You see a few soldiers out there, that are
impressed so far,
braving
though,
it.
because there's obviously some snow on the
They've
roads.
done a good job. Yeah.
I mean, looking pretty good so far. At least downtown, the streets are, manageable.
Yeah, and that what's done in Manhattan, it isn't done all the way through. So yeah. All right. Well, thank you for coming up, getting us up to date again, both on what's happening here at home, but what's also affecting people here that it's miles away. It's all important to talk about. We will see you at 4. Give us 2 minutes, and we'll be back to set you up for our final hour here on Chicago Live for the day. Welcome back, everyone. It's about 3:05 right now, and I believe it's been about 3 weeks now since we learned of the death of Harvey Mayor Christopher Clark. Still pretty shocking. He had just been on the show speaking with me right before he passed away. But now this huge task of finding who will be the next mayor of Harvey to fulfill his term is upon the leadership there. And I want to bring in Harvey spokesperson, Dr. Saba Abor, to update me on where they are and what's getting ready to take place. Thank you so much for joining me.
Hi, Anita. Thank you for having us. We are completely devastated of the loss with Christopher Clark. He was an amazing mayor, and as we move forward now with figuring out who the next acting mayor is going to be before the next election, that's going to happen today, hopefully at the city council meeting.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about the last couple of meetings, because this isn't the first time that you all have tried to get a successor.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the question. So currently out of the choices that that is allowed to, the acting mayor can only be one of the sitting alder people. And so as of right now, and one of those individuals does believe that they have the votes necessary. And so that's why there is a city council meeting for a vote that's being called today.
Mm-hmm. You had two people that were like the front runners. Tell me who they are and what they currently do.
Yeah, so currently right now we have Mayor Pro Temp Shirley Drewinski, who is the acting as she's the mayor pro temp, and then there's also alderperson Randall L, who nominated himself, who also did get some votes, and so they were in a gridlock. And right now, more than likely, somebody's going to be voted in today. And then after that vote happens, whoever gets voted in as acting mayor will have the opportunity to also call a motion for a city clerk to be appointed. The same process would have to happen. There would have to be 4 votes in order for that individual to be as a new acting clerk.
Mm-hmm. So let me ask you this. I've heard that you all are moving locations because there's so much interest in this meeting.
Yeah, so people are very interested to see who their next mayor is going to be. Currently, with the situation in Harvey, there's a lot of interest around this, and we really appreciate people being interested in the process of who the next mayor will be. So that will happen today. Last city council meeting, there was a lot of people that wanted to attend and they weren't able to because of space restrictions, and so that was something that the city decided to do to accommodate folks and make sure that everyone's voices are heard.
Why do you think there's growing interest with a gridlock?
Yeah, I think that just in general, whenever there is a new there's a new elected official position that opens up, I think in general people are very intrigued by it. They want to be a part of the process. They want to have their voice heard in the process, which we are all in support of.
Dr. Abor, this mayor is going to have their hands full. I mean, the last time I spoke with Mayor Clark, it was about significant issues there in Harvey. Can you talk about some of the things that will have to be immediate priorities for the person?
Yeah, Mayor Clark really was an incredible, his work ethic it's very hard to compare it to anyone else. He was at City Hall during Christmas working to try to figure out the financial situation, how to get out of the financial situation that Harvey was in. Whoever is going to be the next mayor is going to have to really lobby Springfield in order to get the funding necessary to get out of the financial hole that Harvey is currently in.
Mm-hmm. And what does that feel like right now to have so much uncertainty in the city of Harvey?
Yeah, I think right now, I mean, city operations are operating normally. We have an amazing city administrator, Corinne Davis, who has really been phenomenal at making sure that the city continues to run. There's a great staff. Our chief of police, Chief Bidings, is doing a phenomenal job of leading the police department, and our fire chief as well. And so everyone is doing the best that they absolutely can to make sure that city operations continues as normal. Our mayor pro tem, she has been on the ground making sure that she is available and responsive to all city needs. So city operation is, continuing as normal. And whoever does end up becoming acting mayor is going to have a phenomenal team that's going to support them every step of the way.
Mm-hmm. I remember there were some people you mentioned, both the police department, the fire department, and I remember there were several people who had been furloughed in the fall. Are those people still furloughed right now?
Currently, yes. So as of right now, until the city of Harvey receives the funding that they need from Springfield, we need that funding to be able to bring people back to work. And so we really are hoping that Springfield provides the funding that the city of Harvey needs.
Because there was like an emergency declaration from Harvey.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. What was that declaration? I remember it was an emergency declaration, but I don't remember what the verbiage of that was.
Yeah, so the city of Harvey passed a resolution stating that Harvey is a financially distressed city, which gives the state the authority to look and see if they would qualify as a financially distressed city. Mayor Clark did believe that it did qualify as a financially distressed city, and so we're waiting for the state of Illinois to get back to us and see if they can provide the funding needed to help get Harvey's operations up and running, to continue the operations and bring back folks that were furloughed.
Yeah, well, hopefully that happens. Please keep us updated. We'll be very focused on who the next person who will kind of take that baton and run forward in the city of Harvey will be at such a critical time. You all need a fighter, and so we'll see who that person will be.
Absolutely. No matter who becomes acting mayor, the administration in Harvey is phenomenal. They will continue to do a great job.
Thank you. We certainly hope so. We'll keep checking back for updates. Thank you.
Thank you, Anita.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful speaking with her, and certainly hope that we get some resolution for the people there. When it was just such a tragedy to lose Mayor Clark. He was so passionate about the city. If I remember correctly, he was born and raised in Harvey, so he was extremely passionate about Harvey and wanting to turn things around. And just to see him pass away in the midst of that fight for change in the area, and then. The fight comes with a lot of controversy. Again, when you have to say that this town that you love so much is a financially distressed town, that it's at that level, that you need some funds to come from Springfield to really right the ship and put a lot of people on furlough right before the holidays. I mean, it was controversial, but at the same time, he felt that it was necessary. So we'll see who becomes the next mayor of Harvey, and thereby needing to immediately appoint a clerk as well. So there's a lot going on in Harvey, and a lot of that happens. Will start tonight. It's about 3:15, everyone. Give us 2 minutes and we'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. 3:17 right now, and there's always new things that you can do with your home, and some of that really elevates the place, right? But sometimes we go a little too far. There's so many different things that you can add, but do you understand it all? Will it work when seconds count? All of those things have to be factored into as well, that decision that you make. Julie Provenzano with the Provenzano Group, which is a high-end real estate group in Dallas, is joining me now to talk a little bit more about smart homes and dumb homes. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks so much for having me.
Appreciate you being here. And tell me a little bit about your thoughts on smart homes.
Sure. Well, I had a recent video that went a little viral, and I said that smart people want dumb homes. And it struck a chord because we're seeing more demand for people who want less tech in their homes, not more.
Yeah. And how do you think we got here?
I just think that we got to a point where we wanted a little bit more simplicity and not having to have an app to turn on everything in our home, whether it's a light or controlling the thermostat. We just sometimes want to get away from these little devices, and because that is ultimately the office following us wherever we go. And if our homes run on nothing but apps, that becomes something that we need to consider potentially breaking up with.
Talk about some of the times it can directly backfire having a smart home.
Sure. Well, it can backfire because it's another thing that can potentially break. And so if we're constantly having to call a contractor or a tech company to fix something for something that's really a simple function in our home, that's problematic. There have been times also where I've had clients move into homes, and in the old days, you could take a little bit of time to get your Wi-Fi set up, and now it's one of the first things you have to do because our entire homes run off of Wi-Fi. Take irrigation, for example. So many of these irrigation systems run off of these apps, and if you're not connected, then your grass and flower beds are not getting what they need.
Yeah. I think that's even worth maybe expounding on. Like, what are the farthest things that you've seen in terms of inventions for smart homes?
In terms of inventions?
Yeah, in the work that you do, when you've gone to a home, like what's the furthest out thing that you have seen in terms of technology being added to a home?
Well, we now have these control force systems where the entire home is run off of this central system. And so whether it's all lights on, all lights off, creating a certain mood, temperature control, irrigation, security, cameras, all of it. It's all in that one, in that hardware. And so in the luxury level, we're seeing a lot of that, especially it could even be saunas that are run off of that. And so it's everything's coming online, so much as even the privacy in our homes, whether it's managing window treatments, it's all coming back to an app.
Yeah, the technology is brilliant until it isn't, type of moments. It's great when it works, types of things. And especially we're looking at, this huge storm system on the East Coast, a lot of people who are without power. Then what?
Exactly. Then what? Then our smart homes aren't so smart anymore.
Yeah, that could be extremely problematic for people. And I guess, would you say, are there some smart investments? Like, are there some things that you would say, even if you were to draw back on certain things, these are the things I would keep around?
Sure. I think there's something to be said, especially if you travel a lot for work, being able to control much of your home through an app, whether that is the security system, cameras. I think that in this day and age, it's really helpful to have that, and being able to just check on your home. The problem is getting notified every 5 minutes can also be a little intrusive. But I do think security and cameras is something that's still really helpful. And then on a secondary level, whether it's running irrigation or temperature control, that can also lead to some good efficiency as well.
How have smart homes changed your industry?
Well, the number one way that they change the industry is I obviously show homes for a living. So I represent people buying and selling. And in the old days, when I started in this business 24 years ago, there was a degree of privacy. When you showed a home, you could talk very honestly with clients about what you liked, what you didn't. And these days, everyone is watching. So even if you behave yourself inside the house, you've got to be really careful outside what is picked up on the Ring cameras. If you're talking about negotiating strategy or anything like that, that'd be definitely the number one biggest change I've seen.
Mm-hmm. And do you find that a lot of people, like, you get the tech and then they don't know how to use it? Even if, somebody who's putting it in, like, okay, they walk you through how to use it, but like, they don't know how to use it when the time comes.
That's one of the biggest problems that we see, is that number one, it breaks, or number two, they never learned how to use it in the first place. So they just start abandoning it and they go back to what we call analog living, which is just using a simple switch to turn something on and off. And that's the problem. And also, there will be times where we go to listing appointments and people will want to say, well, we put $50,000 into our AV system 8 years ago. That holds no value today. It's like dinosaur technology with the way that things are moving so quickly. So people really need to be careful about that investment.
And you talked about a post of yours that went viral. There was also the story about the people who had the smart toilets and then they couldn't flush.
That one I haven't heard of, and I'm glad that I haven't, because we're solving other problems day in and day out.
Yeah, all kinds of problems here that could come from this. What initially seems like a smart idea here. Let me ask you this: if people do go the distance when it comes to technology in their homes, are there some things that you would suggest for them to and make sure they're doing on a regular basis or at all?
Sure. I think that the higher tech it is, the more it's just incumbent on that homeowner to really understand the technology, or to have a relationship with a tech company that can help bail them out when they need it. And if that is not a homeowner's strength, then it's not a good idea to embark on that in the first place. That might just not be the home for you. And it's interesting that luxury buyers largely are driving this now. They're living in these fully automated homes. They're intentionally now choosing more quiet tech, things that just work in the background, not things that talk back.
Yeah. And do you really find that there are certain areas where there are a ton of these smart homes? Like, are there certain builders now that this is their focus, or do you still think that they're relatively scarce?
I think that in the luxury sector, it's everywhere. I think that you're seeing smart home technology and especially in the luxury sector, as people have second homes and they might leave their homes for a month or two at a time, or 3. They want to be able to control and have that oversight. And so you do see in that upper end market that that's still very much a dominant selling feature. But these days also, Ring cameras are everywhere. Everybody has those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, until a Super Bowl commercial causes them to have to draw back on that.
Right.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Do you think that, similar to like the Ring, controversy that they had over the Super Bowl ad, do you think that these companies will kind of hear people saying, maybe we've gone a little too far? Like, is there a middle ground here?
I definitely think sometimes people are a little worried about the surveillance state and just sort of the comfort of that. And that was obviously the drawback. Even though everybody loves the idea of reuniting a lost dog with their owner, it's the idea of constantly being watched and whether or not people really want to be watched in their own home. I think just like with everything, just sort of a reasonable middle ground is usually where the best solution is.
Agreed. We shall see if we can get back there, or whether the cart's just out of the, horse is out of the cart. We'll see. Thanks so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
All right. You take care.
Bye.
There are just so many different examples that you can see of goodness, things in terms of technology that have really gone far. And we often have discussions about in various sectors, even when we talked with the job sector, when we got the latest jobs numbers out recently, and there was this conversation about, okay, well, a lot of these technology companies, they went full speed ahead, right? And then had to start pulling back some in terms of employees even. So we often see in terms of technology, things go very quickly. And then there's the discussion about, well, maybe we went a little too far. Let's maybe reassess this. So we'll see if, people keep modernizing their homes to certain levels, or whether this type of conversation really pulls back to like, okay, maybe we went a step too far. We'll see. 3:27 right now. Give us 2 minutes. We'll be back. What we are anticipating with our next conversation is to really dive a little deeper into what we were seeing in Mexico over the last 48 hours or so. I saw horrible images over the weekend of instances that are taking place in Mexico that are now causing advisories, travel advisories, and things of that nature. And we're gonna talk a little bit more about what's happened there, why it's happening, and where we go from here. We hope to have the Mexico Consul General with us coming up next. So give us 2 minutes and we'll be back. right, 3:32 right now, still waiting on the Mexico Consul General. And as we wait, we were just taking a look at things on the stock market today. Wall Street, look at that. This is where things closed for the day, almost down 822 points for the Dow Jones Industrial Average. And of course, we're just a day ahead of the State of the Union address. So there's even more attention to this today as we get ready for that big address from President Trump. These U.S. equities tumbling today, and it appears that investors are grappling with some fears about AI intelligence disruptions. We were just, talking about technology and whether some people feel it's gone too far in some sectors. We had a conversation earlier with the FBI Chicago Special Assistant in charge talking about AI being used for nefarious purposes. We spoke shortly before that about AI and some of the things that we're seeing out there right now. And so this looks to be a part of the reason why we're seeing what we're seeing here. We see a blip of green on the screen, but quickly went to red and remained there for the rest of the day. But also there's this greater conversation about tariffs since Friday. Of course, first thing on Friday morning, the Supreme Court took up the emergency powers for President Trump and decided that that was not a legal means of instituting tariffs. And by the afternoon, President Trump had noted that he was going to find another means of instituting tariffs. They went up to 10%, and over the weekend they went up to 15%. And so that appears to be an even greater reason why we're seeing what we are seeing on Wall Street today for the stock market. And the NASDAQ composite declining 1.13% today. The S&P 500 shed 1.04% today, and just a lot of red here once again for us there on Wall Street. So of course, when you talk about tariffs and their immediate impact for Wall Street, it's pretty clear. So with 15% tariffs, the Trump administration has added some new duties also that will go into effect immediately. Unclear whether any official documents have been signed outlining the timing here, but he has said that additional levies will be coming in the next few months. So that's a lot of uncertainty for investors to take into advisement today, as we are, again, one day away from the State of the Union address, this volatility surrounding the global tariff policy, even the aspect of it as to, okay, will businesses and these countries be paid back? Can that happen? Okay, well, also what happens now that the tariffs have gone up from 10 to 15%? There's so much uncertainty there that this is a big part of why we're seeing what we are seeing here on the screen right here, and that tariff policy still being debated today. There's the push and pull is what we're seeing there. So a lot of volatility and stocks closing in the red for today. This is all three leading U.S. indexes or indices that we are seeing today that have gone into negative territory. The Dow Jones, the S&P 500, and also the NASDAQ composite. Hopefully things will turn around sometime this week, but just looking at the polling for tomorrow's State of the Union address, the economy is number one for most people, what they want to hear the president speak about. There is a lot of uncertainty when it comes to the economy, and even though some things he feels are wins, are people feeling that at home? That's a part of what he is going to have to straddle when he speaks to the American public tomorrow, will be how people are feeling at home versus what he can tout from a statistical standpoint, that he feels he's done right and that will be helpful to the U.S. economy overall. I mean, he feels like these tariffs, that went all the way up to the Supreme Court, and now the new tariffs that he's instituted, that they are helpful. but are businesses feeling that they're helpful? Are people at home feeling that they're helpful? Because the tariffs, of course, are inflationary. So are people feeling that weight at home? Do they feel that they are necessary and that they are helpful? Obviously, he has a lot to speak through in the coming hours. So we know that tomorrow there will be many people who will be tuned in for that State of the Union address, who will be waiting to hear something very, a revelation from the president, and we'll see what we're able to get from him. We also know, though, and we've spoken to this today, that there are many lawmakers who will be skipping the State of the Union address. We know that just here from our area, Representative Delia Ramirez is going to be sitting out the State of the Union address. Representative Sean Casten, who we spoke to here on the show, will be skipping out on the State of the Union address. Representative Jan Schakowsky will be skipping out on the State of the Union address. And we also know that Representative Quigley will be sitting out the State of the Union address as well. And they've all sent us various statements today as to why they are going to not participate in the State of the Union address. In speaking with Representative Casten today, he says that he will be watching from home. Obviously, it's very important for them to know what the president has to say and how he intends to turn things around in the country, but they don't feel that it's necessary to be there in person. In fact, Representative Casten says he will not be a prop. These are his words, that he will not be a prop to the president's theatrics. That is how he described it there. We still have kind of a question mark for Representative Garcia, just kind of rounding out the representatives from our area. We still have a bit of a question mark on Representative Garcia. We know that he had a precautionary procedure last week, and that he will be, according to their statement, resuming his regular schedule soon. And we know that he was anticipating having Marimar Martinez, the woman who was shot by federal agents during Operation Midway Blitz 5 times, as his guest for the State of the Union address. But we have not heard anything from him today, just to confirm. And at this point, since we've received so many statements saying that there are many who are going to sit it out, we have not received a statement from him as of today as to, for sure, to confirm whether he will be there or not. But the other representatives from our area have decided to boycott the State of the Union address. So we'll be monitoring it very closely. Again, the economy being top of mind, foreign policy being another major issue that the president will have to address, that weighs heavily on the stock market as well. The U.S.-Iranian tension. What will happen with that? Can there be some type of diplomatic solution, or will there be some type of military action? It is a heavy weight to listen to the president, to kind of get more direction as to what we could possibly be doing in the next days or weeks when it comes to Iran. What's going on in Mexico? There is turmoil there, and obviously that has a direct effect on things as well. And so we'll be waiting to hear more from the president as to, one, the United States' part in the operation to take down a cartel leader in Mexico that has now spawned the turmoil that we see from those who are a part of the cartel that are now retaliating for what the wrong they feel was done. He'll have to, of course, speak to that. We're not sure all of the things that he will touch upon within that speech, but it is a major speech on any year, but it is an especially important time to hear what he has to say. So yeah, some of these representatives will be sitting it out, but hopefully they will be listening very closely, as anyone else should be right now. That important information, again, we will be getting from the president tomorrow night. So it's about 3:42 right now. Give us 2 minutes and we'll be back to press on from there. right, everybody, it's about 3:45 right now, and we want to go ahead and bring in our colleague from Fox Weather, Katie Byrne, who is monitoring very closely what's going on with this massive storm system on the East Coast. Oh my, tell us exactly where you are. All right, sounds like we're having an issue. We're going to work on that. We do want to be able to hear from her. Not quite sure what the issue might be with our system or their system, but it's not connecting right now. So we were only hearing a tone. I think you all were hearing the tone as well there at home. But again, this storm system, and we can hear the tone right now, this storm system has affected about 40 million people. Obviously you have issues in terms of your travel. You have issues in terms of the power outages for people in the area as well. We've seen quite a few different types of effects as a result of that. And what we've heard from many is that could likely be for the next several days. I mean, the storm system may effectively come to an end by tomorrow, but it's the ripple effects that we will see as well. I mean, this is a historic system that has hit the East Coast. And so, over the weekend, I started to see some of the reporters that were out there when the snow started, just coming down heavy, super heavy. And then the advisory started to come out. They had what's called a bomb cyclone for many areas, and it was just whiteout conditions. And then, you start to look at the list in terms of accumulation by today. Some of those areas had 2, 3 feet of snow already. I mean, this is very significant stuff that we are looking at and have been monitoring across the country there on the East Coast here. This blizzard system that has really blanketed. We were listening for just a short while from the governor in Massachusetts. You can see there just a little bit of the powder. It's powdery snow kind of sitting there, but it's the impact that we're really talking about here in terms of what people are dealing with. Thousands of flights that have been canceled, school districts that have either gone to so virtual learning or just a day off from school for closed schools today for many in New York and also in Boston. New York City Mayor Mamdani says that they will have in-person school though tomorrow. They will get back to in-person school by tomorrow. Obviously, for a place like New York City, hey, they've been through this. It is historic, but they have the capabilities to kind of move through it and get back to some semblance of normalcy fairly quickly. But of course, this is, as Emily was saying, this is the whole 95 corridor. So we're talking about, yes, Maine. We're talking about New York. We're talking about Philadelphia. But we're talking on down to Virginia, where they're even having some effects from this. And I believe we're getting an update from Rhode Island now.
Get some folks back up, but it's going to take some time for us to do the assessment on the damage and to, frankly, have access once the plowing is finished to be able to get our equipment where it needs to get to restore folks. So I just want everybody to understand that this is going to be, as I said earlier today, a multi-day process. We are still looking at a likely 72-hour event here, meaning into Thursday, before we can get the last customers restored. But we will be working round the clock. We have additional crews that are coming in the morning to assist the several hundred that we already have stationed across the state. I want to talk for just a minute about our outage restoration process, because as we get into that, folks start to ask questions about why we're doing what we're doing on the timing that we're doing it. We follow a pretty standard process that utilities across the country follow, and that is to first focus on the most critical customers, so nursing homes, hospitals, those sorts of things. our large substations and anything else that might be affected. We've got a substation feeding Block Island right now that is down, so that'll be a priority. Those sorts of things. We then move into the transmission system and large circuits and work our way down to the system. It's not necessarily linear. Some of that's happening at the same time, but that is the way we work it. We try to get critical up first and then largest impact first, and we keep moving down the cycle. The other thing is, again, I want to reiterate, as you start to see those estimated restoration times populate on our map, either tonight or tomorrow, probably the first number that you see will be likely on Thursday, and that is because that's a system-wide restoration. We will go back in as we do individual assessments, and your outage will be updated with more information as we move forward through this process, so just please keep that in mind. I want to emphasize safety again. Really important. Our gas teams are already responding to some odor complaints or odor concerns inside homes, so it's really important that you try to make sure that your gas vents, your meters, and those vents that could back up into your homes, if you have natural gas, make sure that those are brushed off. Do it carefully, not with a shovel, but with a broom, so that those are free and clear and carbon monoxide is not building up into your homes. If you're using a generator, please make sure that you're following instructions and doing it properly. If you're using other forms of heating inside the home, please also be very mindful about safety around all of those things. We will not cease on the work until the last customer is restored. We'll be working, as I said, around the clock, but it is going to take us some time. I know that that's not welcome news, but it's the reality, and we want to make sure that we're sharing the information. So stay focused on our outage map. It continues to function well. The texting is functioning well. And call us at 855-743-1101 if you need anything or have any questions. We're there to help. Thank you. Governor? Yep.
Thanks, Greg. Take any questions of any of us up
Governor, I don't want to belabor the point here. I know this is a storm of historic proportion, but you've said it time and again that safety is the #1 priority and that lanes would be open for those emergency vehicles. Now, we've got crews around the state. They've seen off-ramps that are completely covered with snow, completely impassable. And then we're hearing that Eddy Street, which is one of the main arteries to get to the hospitals in downtown Providence, that's impassable. Why is that the case, and how are you working to rectify that issue?
Yeah, I'll let Bob really answer that question. I know that we're out and doing the work. We've targeted hospitals as well. I saw maps of the work that has been done over the last few hours. The issue of safety is the top priority. That's why we've been in contact with all the hospital leadership, along with the nursing home leadership, and we're coordinating with them. And at this point in time, I haven't heard of an issue that is raised to the level where safety has been at risk, and I would expect that would continue. But if Bob wants to just add to that, the work that you've been doing.
Yeah, absolutely. With the snowfall rates being what they are, there's absolutely zero visibility. It's just unsafe for our drivers to be on the road at that time. Now that the snowfall rates came down, they can see the road. They are out there in force. They're taking care of it. We're actually assisting the municipalities where we can, especially around the hospitals. You're going to see a lot of improvement soon, but when the visibility, when you have 2, 3, 4 inches per hour of snow, we just cannot. It's a zero visibility. It's like being blindfolded. You just can't drive like that. So we were at the mercy of that at the time. But now they're out there. They're cleaning it. I'm watching our maps. All the plow trucks have equipment where you can see them on the map, and all their routes on the map. You can see they're making real progress, and they're doing circles around the hospitals. So they're out there, and they're making a big difference there. The roads, yeah.
Governor, to that end, you mentioned that you've been in contact with the hospitals anticipating the shift change so that essential workers could get to and from if that were the case. If we can even broaden that for other essential workers that are trying to get to and from work, what sorts of opportunities is the state offering to help that to happen?
So we're aligning ourselves with the hospital's plans as well as the nursing home plans. So we'll be working and coordinating with them on that issue. And I was also, I was around in the blizzard of '78. if you weren't around, then you might want to just take a look at the conditions at the same period of time and compare that against the conditions that we have here. There's a remarkable difference, and the safety, again, continues to be our top priority. And we are in a position right now to deliver on that, and we've been fortunate because people have been staying off the roads. That's going to be really critical in answering the question you ask, is how are people going to get to and from their medical jobs, and making sure that people get to and from if they actually need the assistance. So at the moment, we're in a spot where we have delivered that. I'm not aware of anything that has happened that has deviated from that. And we're going to, at the end of this storm, my measurement for success is going to be exactly what I've been saying, is have we kept people safe? And that is something that, unfortunately, we can't say about the blizzard of 78, and we're going to do everything we can so the blizzard of 26, that becomes the storyline.
That was the governor there in Rhode Island that we were listening to, Governor Dan McKee, that we are hearing from, as well as some of the Rhode Island energy representatives who are there as well. I think we're working on a few technology gremlins, as we're calling them, in the system right now. But we know that they have about 600,000 power outages on the East Coast right now, 50,000 of them in Rhode Island right now, and they said that they cannot repair lines while the wind is still gusting. They also have many odor concerns. They're concerned about hospitals in the area as well, but at times they have had zero visibility, and that's what they're working with. They're advising people to continue to stay off of the roads, and they even have help that is coming from Pennsylvania to help them, but of course it is a tense situation for them as well right now. Let's take a quick break and we'll be back to close things out.
This is the severity of the storm, where they have rescue vehicles, fire vehicles, police.
All right, welcome back, everyone. We apologize for the technical difficulties we have had, but we've come to the end of our time here on Chicago Live for today. Technology issues aside, we've been able to talk about some concerning issues in our country today, and we've also been able to celebrate with the USA men's hockey team that's now made history, and they're back here in the U.S., and what a beautiful moment. I'm in a perfect timing timing that we were able to see them as they had just arrived at the Miami airport. Who knows what our conversations will be tomorrow, but we hope that you will join us between 1 and 4 p.m. We'll send you to First at 4 now.
Live from Chicago, this is Fox 32 News at 4.
All right, a lot going on today. Americans are stuck in Mexico after a cartel leader's death.